You've seen the Elimination Chamber matches on TV, but have you ever wondered what happens when the cameras stop rolling? These 10 matches didn't just end careers, they literally changed the trajectory of WWE history in ways nobody could have predicted. When a 6'4" superstar gets thrown into steel mesh at full force, something's got to give, and it's usually not the steel. In these brutal matches, we watch top stars enter as champions and leave on stretchers, some never returning to their former glory. Let me show you what WWE doesn't want you to focus on when they replay these iconic moments. Before we move ahead, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more amazing content. Back in November 2002, the WWE unveiled a terrifying new creation that would forever change the landscape of professional wrestling: the Elimination Chamber. Triple H, the reigning World Heavyweight Champion, strutted to the ring with his trademark confidence, unaware that this steel monstrosity was about to deliver the most harrowing experience of his career. The match started like any other, with competitors locked in their pods, but took a devastating turn when Rob Van Dam climbed to the top of one of those pods. RVD launched himself through the air for his signature 5-star frog splash, but something went horribly wrong. Instead of landing on Triple H's midsection as planned, he crashed directly onto the game's throat. You could see the immediate panic in Triple H's eyes as he gasped for air. What fans didn't realize was just how serious the situation had become. Medical staff gathered at ringside, preparing to stop the match if necessary. Triple H, somehow summoning superhuman determination, continued competing despite struggling to breathe. The cameras occasionally caught glimpses of him clutching his throat between spots, silently communicating with officials to assure them he could continue. Shawn Michaels eventually emerged victorious, his face covered in crimson from a brutal forehead gash. But the real story unfolded after the cameras stopped rolling. Triple H, the company's top star just hours earlier, was now being rushed to medical facilities with a crushed larynx. WWE executives, recognizing the severity, quickly edited subsequent replays to downplay the incident. 3 years after nearly ending his career in Satan's prison, Triple H returned to the Elimination Chamber with a new role: the puppet master of evolution. But what happens when a faction's power dynamics shift inside 6 tons of unforgiving steel? At New Year's Revolution 2005, the carefully scripted implosion of WWE's most dominant stable took an unplanned violent turn. Randy Orton, the company's golden boy and youngest world champion in history, entered the chamber with his Evolution stablemates supposedly in his corner. But underneath the storyline, tensions lurked something far more dangerous: genuine frustration brewing within the group. As the match progressed, Batista began asserting himself in ways that weren't planned, dominating portions of the contest that showcased his growing independence. The Animal eliminated both Chris Jericho and Edge with devastating power moves that weren't in the original script, visibly shifting the power dynamics within Evolution right before fans' eyes. The situation took a disturbing turn when Orton suffered a legitimate concussion from a stiff shot to the head. The injury forced everyone to adjust on the fly, with cameras catching Triple H breaking character to check on his younger stablemate with genuine concern before reluctantly continuing with the planned betrayal angle. What appeared as storyline friction between Triple H and Batista had roots in real-life tension. Backstage reports revealed heated arguments between the two over unnecessary risks inside the chamber. The physical toll of the match, particularly Orton's brain injury, accelerated WWE's timeline for Evolution's breakup, turning a slow-burning storyline into an urgent reality. While Evolution's drama unfolded backstage, The Undertaker was walking into his own nightmare at No Way Out 2008. The Deadman entered the chamber with an injury so severe that medical staff had actively warned him against competing. 3 cracked ribs that made each breath painful, let alone being thrown against unforgiving steel. Inside that hellish structure, Undertaker faced what could only be described as a monster movie lineup. Batista, the Great Khali, and Big Daddy Fee collectively weighed about 1,500 pounds. 3/4 of a ton of humanity, all gunning for the World Heavyweight Championship. What fans didn't realize was the legitimate hostility brewing between Taker and Batista, stemming from previous title exchanges. This wasn't just scripted animosity. Batista delivered shots with genuine force, turning choreographed combat into something far more dangerous. The brutality reached new heights when Big Daddy Fee launched Undertaker into the chamber wall, with such force that a section of steel mesh actually broke loose. The jagged edge tore into Taker's back during a later sequence, creating a wound that would require a dozen stitches once cameras stopped rolling. Despite this torture chamber of pain, Undertaker secured his WrestleMania title shot by making Batista tap to the Hell's Gate submission. But even the most casual viewer could spot something unusual. The typically stoic Phenom, visibly struggling to stand during his victory celebration, a rare crack in his supernatural persona. That rare moment of vulnerability from The Undertaker would pale in comparison to what John Cena experienced at No Way Out 2009. If you thought WWE's golden superhero was untouchable, what happened next changed everything. The match started with an unexpected twist when Edge, fueled by real-life frustration, ambushed Kofi Kingston during his entrance and stole his spot in the chamber. What followed wasn't just scripted violence. It was a legitimate beatdown. Edge unleashed a barrage of stiff shots that left visible welts across Cena's chest and back. The brutality went far beyond what was planned, with each impact echoing through the arena as the crowd roared in approval. WWE officials backstage were livid about the excessive force, but the audience reaction was so intense they let it continue. During commercial breaks, a side of Cena fans never saw emerge. Medical staff swarmed around him, genuinely concerned about potential internal injuries. The situation became so serious that doctors ultimately advised Cena couldn't safely continue the planned sequence. His elimination just 3 minutes into the match wasn't just a shocking twist, it was a medical necessity. Please like and subscribe if you have enjoyed the video so far. Let us know in the comments what you think about Cena. But wait, the next 5 matches will blow your mind. While Cena's medical emergency was a serious situation, WWE had already experimented with taking the chamber's brutality to unprecedented levels. In 2006, they created what many wrestlers later called a death trap, the first and only extreme elimination chamber. Unlike standard chamber matches, this ECW-branded nightmare featured weapons locked inside each competitor's pod, transforming an already dangerous structure to something far more sinister. Bobby Lashley, WWE's next big powerhouse prospect, walked into that chamber with championship aspirations. What he couldn't have anticipated was how quickly things would spiral out of control. When Sabu got pulled due to injury right before the event, his last-minute replacement test brought a completely different wrestling style that threw carefully planned sequences into chaos. The chamber floor quickly became littered with kendo sticks, chairs, and tables as the match progressed. During one particularly violent sequence, Lashley was thrown backward into a pile of steel chairs. What should have been a painful but routine bump turned catastrophic when one of the chairs folded improperly, its metal edge slicing deep into Lashley's back like a knife. Blood immediately began pooling beneath Lashley's massive frame. Referees and producers, communicating through earpieces, debated stopping the match entirely as the crimson stain spread across the chamber floor. Somehow, Lashley persevered through the remainder of the match, but the real drama unfolded after cameras stopped rolling. While Lashley's bloody scene shocked audiences, the 2012 Elimination Chamber hid something far more disturbing than visible wounds. Inside that steel prison, a silent crisis unfolded when not just one but 2 of wrestling's elite performers suffered brain injuries. And somehow, the match continued without fans even knowing. CM Punk was defending his WWE Championship against 5 challengers in a high-stakes chamber match. Early in the contest, a botched spot with Dolph Ziggler left Punk concussed and disoriented. The self-proclaimed best in the world suddenly couldn't remember what came next in their carefully choreographed dance of violence. If you watch the footage closely, you can spot R-Truth subtly guiding Punk through sequences, whispering directions between moves as the champion struggled to maintain his bearings. The situation went from bad to worse when Chris Jericho smacked his head on the unforgiving chamber floor and was knocked completely unconscious. While cameras conveniently cut away, medical staff rushed to check on the veteran performer. Suddenly, the remaining wrestlers faced an impossible challenge, continuing a precisely planned match with 2 concussed performers, one completely out cold. Kofi Kingston, showcasing the adaptability that's defined his career, extended his time in the match well beyond what was planned, absorbing punishment to cover for Jericho's recovery period. The wrestlers essentially rewrote the match on the fly, improvising new sequences while protecting their injured colleagues. Punk ultimately retained his championship, but the victory marked the beginning of his physical downfall. In his autobiography, he revealed this match was the catalyst for his dependence on pain medication, a spiral that would eventually contribute to his bitter departure from WWE. After the cameras stopped rolling, backstage footage captured an incensed Punk confronting officials about the chamber's insufficient padding, concerns that wouldn't be addressed until years later when WWE finally redesigned the structure. Those safety improvements came too little, too late. In 2017, WWE proudly unveiled their redesigned Elimination Chamber structure with softer walls and a more forgiving floor. At least that's what they claimed. The reality inside that steel prison told a different story. AJ Styles learned this painful truth firsthand when he was thrown against those supposedly improved chamber walls. The impact left him with a severe hip contusion that had even John Cena breaking character mid-match to check on his well-being. That's when you know things have gone sideways, when Superman himself stops playing his role because he's genuinely worried. But the untold suffering belonged to Bray Wyatt. While fans watched him finally capture his first world championship, nobody knew he was competing with a partially separated shoulder from an injury sustained days earlier at a non-televised event. Every collision with the chamber's walls sent visible shockwaves of agony across his face. Between camera cuts, medical staff frantically applied numbing spray to help him continue. The cruel irony? The biggest moment of Wyatt's career, his long-awaited championship victory, would ultimately contribute to his downfall. His shoulder deteriorated so badly during the match that WWE's creative team was forced to dramatically alter their WrestleMania plans. What should have been the pinnacle of his career became a footnote when his reign was cut short after just 49 days. His body too broken to continue the championship run he had waited years to achieve. The 2019 Men's Elimination Chamber match for the WWE Championship was a brutal, career-defining war filled with high-impact moves and unforgiving steel. Bryan, the defending champion, entered the structure against AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy, Kofi Kingston, Randy Orton, and Samoa Joe, all vying for supremacy inside the unforgiving steel structure. From the opening moments, the violence was relentless. Samoa Joe's brutal chops left Bryan's chest red and raw, while Styles and Hardy introduced high-risk offenses that had the crowd on edge. Hardy, always the daredevil, climbed onto the top of a pod and delivered a breathtaking swanton bomb onto Styles, crashing hard on the steel floor in the process. The brutality only escalated as the match wore on. Orton eliminated Styles with a shocking mid-air RKO, while Bryan continued to wear down his opponents with calculated brutality. Kofi Kingston, however, was the heart of the match. Entering as an underdog, he survived vicious attacks, dodged near eliminations, and electrified the crowd with his resilience. The moment he stood toe-to-toe with Bryan in the final stretch, the arena exploded, fully backing Kofi's improbable journey. The two warriors exchanged near falls, with Kofi landing a thunderous trouble in paradise, only for Bryan to kick out at the last second. Remember the 2014 Royal Rumble when fans nearly rioted because Bryan wasn't even in the match? Well, what WWE presented as stubborn resistance to the Yes movement was actually hiding something far more concerning. When Bryan stepped into the Elimination Chamber, they were secretly testing if his body could handle being the company's top star. The test went horribly wrong about midway through the match. After taking what looked like a routine throw from Sheamus, was at ringside. Those interference spots from Kane and the Wyatt family that fans booed mercilessly, they weren't just storyline developments, they were emergency adjustments, creating opportunities for medical staff to quickly examine Bryan away from the cameras. When monitors showed Bryan struggling to grip the ropes, producers radioed down to referees to modify upcoming spots. The neck damage Bryan sustained that night would become the first domino in a cascade of injuries that eventually forced him into his first retirement. Within 3 months, he'd lose all strength in his right arm, requiring emergency championship victory at WrestleMania 30. The crowd erupted as Cena stood tall, battered but victorious. But just as he reached out to shake Cody Rhodes' hand, signaling a possible show of respect, the arena lights dimmed. A moment of tension hung in the air before Cena, with a smirk, suddenly pulled Rhodes into an unexpected attitude adjustment. The WWE Universe gasped in disbelief as Cena stood over the fallen American Nightmare, a cold, calculated look in his eyes. Then the unthinkable happened. The electrifying sound of The Rock's theme music hit, and out walked the People's Champion, flanked by an unlikely ally, music mogul Travis Scott. The two men smirked as Cena, now revealing his true intentions, extended his hand to The Rock. The moment was clear. Cena had turned his back on Rhodes and the fans, aligning himself with The Rock and Travis Scott in a stunning betrayal. This shocking alliance sent a message loud and clear. WrestleMania 2025 was going to be a war. With Cena now on The Rock's side, Rhodes found himself facing an uphill battle against one of the most powerful forces WWE had ever seen. The biggest question now, how would Cody Rhodes respond to this blindsiding betrayal? Through the years, the Elimination Chamber has evolved and designed to better protect the wrestlers who put their bodies on the line inside its unforgiving walls. In 2017, WWE unveiled a redesigned structure that aimed to balance brutality with safety, recognizing the toll these matches had taken on performers' bodies. But even with these modifications, the chamber remains one of wrestling's most dangerous battlegrounds. The truth is, no amount of padding can fully protect against the career-altering impacts we've witnessed over 2 decades. While fans see the blood and the spectacular moments, the real story often unfolds after the cameras stop rolling. In medical rooms, rehabilitation centers, and behind closed doors where careers hang in the balance. What makes the chamber truly terrifying isn't just what it does to wrestlers during those 30 minutes of combat, but how it reshapes their futures for years to come. The structure doesn't just test these athletes, it transforms them, physically and mentally. Next time you watch an Elimination Chamber match, remember you're not just witnessing a contest, but potential turning points in careers that may never be the same afterward. Hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. We will catch you in the next one.